If you're just joining us on the house broadcasting live from the Danco booth, and you may know Danco from their Perfect Seal or perhaps some of their water efficient products for your toilet to make it flush better and more efficiently. They also have sink, faucet repair, stems, aerators, cartridges, and a nifty new product called
Zero cut bolts.
Zero Cut Bolts, and that's Mark Garrett, and he is Senior Product Manager with Danco, and you are going to demonstrate this on air for us. Share with our listener what Zero Cut Bolts is all about.
All right. Well,
And I mean, this is new. This isn't even at retail yet.
Nope, it's not.
First of all, that's the bolt that usually sits in the toilet ring
That's correct. That's
is gone. We're not going to use a bolt anymore.
not going to use the bolt.
What we're going to do is we're going to put in a hollow receptor to
That's
replace
correct.
the bolt.
That's correct.
And what do you call that little
Well, we call this
Dumaflachi?
right here the T-bolt.
So it's a T-bolt, and it's got the head of a closet bolt, but it doesn't have the shaft.
That's correct.
Instead, what it has is female threads.
That's correct.
So once it's installed, a set of female threads is sitting in the flange
That's correct.
on either side of the toilet. And it doesn't protrude up very hard. It only goes up about a half inch.
Yeah, even less than that.
Yeah.
And you say, who can reinvent the closet bolt system? And I can tell you Danco. And you say, why? What's wrong?
We've been using the same bolting system since toilets were put in homes.
Now let me tell you what the
and
problems are.
suddenly, we've got a device now that doesn't need a wrench.
It doesn't need any tools.
You don't have to worry about breaking the toilet, getting it on and off.
No
This
hacksaw.
is amazing.
No hacksaw to cut the closet bolts down because they're too long, and you have trouble getting
Right.
the cap
Put the other receptor on so that we have two receptors, one on each side. But now these are both sticking up just a little under a half inch, and you tighten them down nice and snug by hand. No wrench.
No tools.
Now we want to
Okay.
be clear that this is a Hollywood. This is a Hollywood closet flange.
Well,
what I'm
if
saying
it's
is
not, we're going to have
yeah,
poopy
is
dooley
the
all
cla-
over
is
our
the-
broadcast
The
table.
closet flange is not part of the system. This is for demonstration purposes only.
That's correct.
We're talking about the bolts. Okay, now we've got the receptors in place, and they're hand tight, which is plenty tight. Now what do we do?
Well, now you have to simulate the traditional bolt so you can align the toilet down on the flange. So we simply do that by
Those are just
these
little
pins.
plastic studs,
That's correct.
and they fit down inside the female threads of
Yep.
the receptors. And now we can put the toilet on.
So
So
these-
let's simulate. Okay, we're going to put the toilet on, line it with the pilot,
Which
studs.
simulate the traditional
The traditional
threads
bolts.
daylighting
Okay.
from the closet bolts.
So now,
okay.
now what?
Well, now actually on these bolts, it's got two different labels, and depending on in the instructions, it'll tell you whether you need an extension or not, which we provide.
Okay.
If you don't need the extension, which is the case here, we simply just take those off.
And the extension, I'll bet, has female threads and goes over the male threads, which are daylighting. Is that
Yep,
true?
that's correct.
Okay, cool.
Okay.
All right.
And then once you establish which bolt to use, then you simply just now screw cross-thread it back down into that bolt.
Now wait a minute. You can't put that nut down like that. There's no washer on there.
Well,
We're
I'm
not
glad
d-
you asked
But
that.
wait, there's more.
Oh, okay. All
Okay.
right.
So we now have this simple device right here.
Well, that's the washer,
It simulates the washer.
but
That's
it doesn't
correct.
go all the way around. It's
Nope.
U-shaped.
It's U-shaped so that
Okay.
it can fit on the bolt.
Now, wait a minute.
Oh.
This is more than a washer. This is a washer and a wrench both.
That's correct.
Show us how it works.
Well, simply
So
just
you
hand
turn-
tighten it
Oh, you
onto your
Tighten it.
flange.
Okay.
So you're turning the washer to tighten the bolt.
That's right.
And the bolt, the head of the bolt fits right into the washer, which is not, and you've got it hand tight, which is really good because what do we tend to do? We tend to wrench,
And
break
crack
the toilet.
you're right.
So
Crack
we've got
porcelain.
this hand tight. Now, how do we finish the job?
Well, we provided these along with the zero-cut bolts and their low-profile caps. And the reason why they can be low profile is because you don't have in traditional bolts. You usually have it's extending
It's
up
sticking
about a
up
half
a
inch.
3/4 of an inch, a
Yeah.
half inch, yeah.
And it looks ugly, and you have this whole big cap to put on. Well, so you can simply just snap that on, and you're done.
Unbelievable. And the manufacturer's suggested retail price of the zero cut bolts,
$7.99.
$7.99.
All of that. You know,
Yeah, take a breath. Take a breath. It's
I just
exciting
don't. I
news.
do not understand
Yeah.
why this was not the way it was done in the beginning.
It's innovation.
It's backwards.
Yeah. Well, you know what? It's innovation and it's exciting news, and it's just some of what we are seeing at the National Hardware Show, and it's a lot of what we're seeing in specific at the Danco booth,